fellow seekers of truth, wisdom, and light. This is Reverend Eliot, your friendly neighborhood esoteric practitioner, coming to you live tonight from the city of New York for show number 380. Can you believe that? I've done this 379 previous times, and here it is 380. And more important than that, this is the final show of my 11th year. So not the final show, no, final show of the 11th year. Next week starts year number 12 with Ask One Radio and Reverend Eliot's Magickal Window. So this is historic. I don't know if it's good history or bad history, but it's history. That's what they said to me. That's what my ex-wife said to me one day. She said, pal, you're history. And how was that? Next thing you know, I'm looking for a place to live. So here we are. And we're in the middle of winter. We're coming to the end of the year. Gosh, everything's nice. I cleared this with the Colorado Supreme Court. I am allowed to do the show tonight. So if you see, I'll be taking calls legally. I have not committed any crimes that I know of. And if I did, come on, do you think I'd tell you? I guess what is the only crime I could be accused of at this point would be like interspiritual, interplanetary snooping, because the magical window lets us look at all kinds of things. Now, it would be safe to say, for instance, all this stuff that's going on in the news, my cards told me they would be happening, but no, I'd never look at that stuff. I don't look at it that way. If something's coming up, if something's going to happen, we will find out one way or the other, with or without the cards. But the cards will show us that something is up. I mention this quite a lot because it blows my mind. At the end of 2019, when I started doing year-end readings for people, both on the air and at live readings, person to person, individual readings by phone or Skype or Morse code, whichever you want. At the end of 2019, I was getting an awful lot of readings that indicated new starts for people. There were aces, like there's going to be big changes in career, there's going to be changes in your life. I couldn't understand why. That went on into early 2020. And then by March of 2020, when people started getting sick, I realized what the cards had been telling me for the previous few months, that there was going to be upheavals. The old ways would change for a lot of us, and did. Gosh, there were so many people who took the time. I mean, I know a lot of people were saying that with all of these lockdowns that we had in 2020, there would be a renaissance in the arts, but very few people, a lot of people just drank beer and streamed movies. But I do know one person here I've run into who wrote a play, had it produced. So, hey, he had the time on his hands to write the play while he was in the lockdown, and he did it, and he did get it produced. And he shared that good news with me. And see, that's what I meant by new things coming in people's lives. And the cards can show these things. This is why I don't recommend, this is counterintuitive, I know, because, there are people who assume that I make a living just by reading cards for people constantly, which it's not so. I do a lot of other things. But I don't recommend a lot of readings for people. I just don't. Then you become dependent on the cards, and then you start to substitute the judgment of the cards for your own. I think it's fun to have readings maybe once or twice a year. Learn what's going on. Like this time of year, at the end of the year, I do that. I usually do a lot of that. I haven't done very much this year because I've been like the Walking Dead. I've been ill. You can tell by the number of shows I missed this year, and I'm going to get to a little perk that you're going to get because of that. But, the end of the year, it's always good to get a reading to see what the coming up year is like, or maybe see even, now this sounds strange, but there are people who do this. What was the past year like? Because we may not have noted what's going on around us completely. Very few of us are that aware. I know I'm not, because that's why we use cards, to enhance our awareness. But there may be some things going on in your life over the past year that you couldn't explain, you didn't understand, you'd want to know more about. We could look into that. That's why I call it the magical window, because you can use this as a window into things that are going on. And I just didn't want to say, Eliot's tarot show. I don't like that. I wanted to give it a snappy name. And in fact, I like the name so much that I wrote a book called Reverend Eliot's Magical Window, which is the kind of book that I wish I had when I started learning to read tarot cards. And you can use that book yourself to learn how to read the cards. I have a special on that right now, which is it's a book dedicated to you, actually. By the way, it's dedicated to the listening audience of Ask One Radio, because you people pushed me into the wonderful world of really delving deeper into tarot than I ever did. And I wrote that book, and here's what I've got. The book is not just a book, but it's a CD comes with it, which has genuine readings that illustrate various points in the book. If you want to learn how to be a reader yourself, this is the book to get, I think. Well, naturally, because I wrote it that way. But also, it had, I always was suspicious of these tarot books. It said, and I read the cards in 1972, and I saw that Nixon was going to resign. Well, it's easy to write that in 1985. But I took actual readings that you'll hear, and you'll see the power of the tarot cards in those readings. These are real readings that we have. No confidentialities are broken. It's just readings. And there's a special I'm giving with that. That book is illustrated with the vending machine tarot. Now, there's a cute little thing. There were little teeny cards that came in a gumball canister in a gumball machine. Back in the late 60s, early 70s, you could pop a quarter into the machine, turn the crank, and out would roll a little canister and open it up. And, sometimes you'd get a Beatles ring that had a picture of Ringo on it, or things like that. Well, this machine used to sell little decks of tarot cards, just the major cards, the 22 major cards. And you can read alone with those. The other cards add a little more depth to the reading. But it can be done. There are some people who only read with the major cards. That's fair enough. And I have reproductions of that deck from the 60s, which no hippie would be caught dead without having a deck of tarot cards at Woodstock, So we still have those. And they come in a gumball canister, and I make them individually for each order. See? So you get them, these are not machine made. You get them right off the assembly line. No, you get them right from me. And that'll come with a little sheet of paper that you can use for the layout, but you'll probably throw that out. It doesn't really matter. But the special now is, if you get a copy of the book and CD set, Reverend Eliot's Magical Window, you'll get a free set of the reproduction of the vending machine tarot. I had a very funny conversation with a chef from Louisiana, who thought that I was selling I had it listed at eBay, these cards, and he thought it was an original set, and he offered me a fabulous amount of money for it. And I said, you do realize, of course, these are reproductions that I make on cardstock. And he said, oh. So I let him have it at a very reasonable price. Because, you see, the originals would be very expensive. They were kind of cheap. And I would be very surprised if any originals of the tarot deck survived. I have one, by the way. That's how I made this set, you see. I managed to get hold of one. And it's I don't know how long it'll last, but I've got it. And you can get a reproduction of the very rare and interesting vending machine tarot free while supplies last, which means as long as I feel like doing it, for when you get you see, I'm looking at a deck of them right now. Little teeny weeny little deck here. I have two decks here sitting right there. When you get Reverend Eliot's Magical Window. Now, what I'm going to do also, aside from that, which I mentioned, this is for everybody, because I mentioned I do a lot of private readings this time of year so people can look at the coming year, and I haven't been doing that because I had been ill. If you notice, I missed a lot of shows this year. So I'm going to assume that I did about half of the shows that I should have done. So I have cut my prices in half for readings. You can go to magic-works.com there on the homepage, or you can look for the page that says tarot reading, and you'll see my prices. Just cut that in half. That's just it. I mean, I had a request the other day from somebody who wanted an email tarot reading. Those are $10. And I answered that it's $5 now because of the sale, you see, so that's pretty good. And I'm going to be doing that until the end of the year. Between you and me, don't tell anybody about this, but I'm going to be doing it longer than that. You know, I feel guilty about having missed all the shows. Of course, I had no choice because I was a babbling idiot with a fever, and that doesn't help at all. And I had no voice for much of the last few months. But here I've got it. Now it's impossible to get me to shut up. So those are the two things I wanted you to know. Three things. One, I'm back. Two, it's the end of year 11. We're going into year 12 starting next week. Then the specials with you get a free copy of the vending machine tarot in its own little gumball vending machine gumball canister. I'm shuffling up the cards while we talk. Is that rude of me? And also, my readings are now, when you see the prices at magic-works.com, cut them in half. That's it. I mean, you know, instead of the best deal I've ever given was that $10 email reading, because they go into in depth in a question, any question you have, and it's only $10. Now it's $5, you see, and you still get the same thing. So that's my way of repenting. That's my way of saying I'm sorry to let you all down by not being here while I was so sick, but I sure missed you, and I'm glad to be back. So it's my gift, and I'm happy to do that. So keep that in mind. You can find out more about what I do at by emailing me if you want at asktarot@earthlink.net. asktarot@earthlink.net. You see how old that this is? I have an Earthlink address. I've been doing this so long. And the website, I've got a couple of websites to go to. One is magic-works.com, magick-works.com. That has 103 pages. There's loads of free magic information there, and there's meditations that you can listen to and download. There's all kinds of interesting stuff there. And the other is mojoacademy.org. That has books and audio and video. Check that one out, because we like to say there is a book there that will change your life. Another one is called the 10 Lost Books of the Prophets.com, you know, and which has, now this is a high ticket item, and it's not for everybody, but I do recommend it highly if you would like to get into serious occult work and magical work. It's the 10 Lost Books of the Prophets, which is a synthesis of many different magical books. You might not want to have all of those books in your library, and this has the meat of all of those, and it's really it's an astonishing thing. It's been around since the 1930s in little teeny books, and usually riddled with typos. But Mojo Academy Mojo Brothers Books has restored them. Took a year to restore them, and it is now out in normal size books, a set of 10 books in paperback or hardcover. And you can see all the details about that at 10lostbooksoftheprophets.com. And you can get them through eBay. You can get them through Amazon. You can get them directly through that website. There's all kinds of ways to do it. And like I said, it's not for everybody. It's for the person who really wants to get into it. Now, if your New Year's resolution is to get into the esoteric side of the spirituality of the Western occult tradition, you can't do any better than getting the 10 Lost Books of the Prophets. If you really want to get into it, you can grab hold of a set of the Equinox, which that usually, I mean, it's in the public domain now, but a set of books like that can run $700-800. Now, we're not talking about that much for the 10 Lost Books of the Prophets. You know, we're talking about a lot less. But take a look at it. You know, it's a little pricey for the hardcover one, but it should be, because you'll have it. That's an heirloom too. But the you know, it's reasonable. It's if you get it in paperback, it's under $9 a book See, and for the 10 books each. So there you go. I just want to let you know about all of that. And of course, at mojoacademy.org, you'll find all the great Mojo Brothers shaving soap, which if you're really stuck for a stocking stuffer, that's the one. You know, if you might be a little late, but if you want some of those, just check it out at mojoacademy.org. Now, we're all shuffled up, as you no doubt hear. So let's do this. Let's get right to it. Let's get into the readings. I'm going to ring a bell now to declare a sacred space, and that's the space in which we operate and look through the magical window. And now we're going to pull back the curtain on the magical window for our first readings for tonight for Sarah in Oxford, New Jersey. Hi, Sarah. You're on with Reverend Eliot.
Hi, hon.
How are you doing, Sarah?
Going through some rough patches, but other than that, good. Getting ready for Christmas.
Well, let's see if we can make it a little better. How's that? What can I look at for you?
Anything, pretty much. Just, I wanted a reading tonight kind of just to cheer me up a little bit, to be honest.
Okay. Well, let's see. This is a card that it'll either cheer people up or it'll upset them, but I have a feeling you're going to enjoy it because it's a good reading. The first card I have is the Wheel of Fortune, and that means the way things are for you now, you're at a time of change. Things are going to be changing. Yeah. Now, of course, that the next question always is it going to be good or bad change? And I can tell you it's going to be good.
That's good.
Because the next card is the Six of Swords. That is a card called Science. And in some decks, it shows a person getting from rough waters to calm waters through her own efforts. It's moving a boat. It's a person moving a little boat from rough water to calm water. So that you've been working on trying to make things better, and this shows me that you're going to succeed. The next card is the Fool. Now, that doesn't mean you're a fool. That's the card that means the beloved of God. If there were any negative cards in this reading, that card would overturn them. So it's going to be very good for you. Now, I need to ask a question. Are you doing anything new in terms of work?
Yeah, actually. For years, I've been in retail, kind of management, and I've been doing housekeeping work. So totally different.
Okay, because what I've got here is the Eight of Coins, and that is a card of a person who is doing something new in terms of work and money. And applies herself diligently to it and is very successful at it. That's why I asked you that question. So that's going to be very good for you this year. The Two of Cups here is a card that usually signifies a new relationship coming, or if you're in a relationship, the relationship you're in reaches a nice new level. So it's a very good sign. I'm seeing the year going to be very good for you. Money is good. I've got the page. Look, I've got the Eight of Coins, the Page of Coins, and the Queen of Coins, and the King of Coins. This is money. Money is all over your year coming up.
Oh, finally.
Yeah, you're either going to rob a bank or you're doing well. By the way, bank robbery is an interesting crime because it's never been worth doing, I might add.
No.
I remember back in the 70s, the first time and this is going to sound peculiar, but the first time I looked into bank robbery, I saw that the average bank robber got like $400 and arrested. Now, bank robbery, I don't know how much the average bank robber gets, but they have the highest death rate of any criminal activity. So I would have asked people to reconsider if they were going to go into bank robbery, and I shouldn't make little jokes about that. But yeah, it's not a good thing to do, you know.
No, but it was a good joke, though.
Thank you. You know, I think I've mentioned this before, but when I was in my teens, I was actually offered a chance to join an organized crime family by a very scary guy. Thought I would be good at it, and I have no idea why. And I thought it over, and I told him, I'll never. This is like burned in my mind. I said, the thing is with organized crime, the hours appeal to me. The hours are good, but I don't like your retirement plan. And he just stared at me, and then he just started laughing and laughing and laughing. He said, "You're okay, kid," and I never heard from him again. So I think I handled that one right.
Yeah.
Otherwise I'd either be, in a Martin Scorsese movie or looking up at everybody from the bottom of the East River. I don't know. But in any case, this is going to be a very good year for you. Really, really good year. Now, let me tell you this. You have some kind of new ideas that you are kicking around in your head. Is that correct?
Yeah. I had one today, but I'm just kind of about starting maybe a cleaning business when I'm done going through some personal stuff.
Okay. Well, I'm telling you that because this is the Page of Swords, and swords are about mental activity, and the page is the appearance of something new. So that's telling me that you have a new idea and a new way of looking at things, and you're going to implement it. And the card after that is the World, which is the card of assured success. So I think you're on a good path here.
All right.
So you're going to have a pretty good next year, and it's laying the plans for what's going to come after that. I'm going to pull one more card for you. Yeah, look, see, this is good. This is the Magician. It's not just the Fool. That's ultra positive, but the Magician is even greater. This is that a person who can draw power down from the spiritual realm here and make it work. So you're a very gifted, powerful person, and you're putting all that to work, and it's going to work out well for you. That's what I see for next year.
That's good.
Okay. Does that help?
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. It's a great reading. Thanks for calling.
No problem. Thank you for everything.
Bye now. And let's shuffle them up. You're listening to Reverend Eliot's Magical Window with me, Reverend Eliot, the nonstop chatterbox who now and then reads cards for people. Joe in Anchorage, Alaska is next. Hi, Joe. You're on with Reverend Eliot. Joe in Anchorage, Alaska, you with us?
Yes, I am.
Oh,
how are
beautiful.
you tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great. Oh, good.
What can I look at for you?
Good. Well, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I've not had this kind of a reading before, so.
Well, what would you like to? Is there something you're interested in, or do you just want to see what direction the cards take us in?
Well, I was hoping to hear from the other side if I could.
Okay, I've done that. There are several cards in the deck that when I know that that's the intention, I'll shuffle the cards, and if I get one or more of those cards, then I know I'm on the right track. Obviously, one of the cards is the Death card, another is the High Priestess, which is the person who can see beyond the veil. And if I don't get those cards, I can shuffle them again, or I can just read it anyway and assume that it's a message from the other side. Because I never did that before. You said you've never done this. I never did these kind of readings until I came here and started doing it on Ask One Radio. It never occurred to me to even try. And I tried, and I usually get the same kind of reading, which is interesting. So let's see what we have here. Okay, I'll cut the cards now. And okay, there's the Death card. So we're going to assume that this will be a reading of the afterlife. That's fascinating. You see what I mean about the cards? I don't know how they do that. I've been reading cards since the 1980s, and I've long since given up trying to figure out how they work. So let's shuffle them up. Okay. The Knight of Cups is here. The Lover's here. These are emotional cards. There's somebody very close to you passed on, correct?
Correct. A few.
There's
actually.
Well, let's see what we can find, who we can get into here, see if there's any kind of a message from it. Yeah, see, this is a card that I always get when I do these readings. These are two cards that I get all the time, and I'll tell you what they are. The Three of Swords is a card of great sadness. Great sadness. It shows a heart pierced with swords, crying. Now, is that sad or is that sad? Right. The
Oh,
next
yeah.
card. Now I get that frequently here because there's so much sadness involved when people pass on, or let's face it, die. You know, I know people shy away from that word, but there it is. The next card is the Star, which is a card of hope and optimism. And that's followed by the Four of Rods, which is a card of happiness and comfort and joy and a happy home. And now here's the card I get frequently with these readings. It's the Ten of Swords. It's somebody who was having a very, very rough time and the bad times are over, is what that means. So the message that I get here is we know that you feel close to us. We're very sad, too, that we're apart. But it's a hopeful time because the soul is growing. And that leads to the happiness of Four of Rods. And the Ten of Swords is about the suffering that this particular person, this particular entity went through is over. There was somebody who had a rough time before passing, correct?
Um, well, my father would have.
Yeah, see, but because that is a card. I mean, sometimes that card is confused as a card of death, but it's not, and it means that the troubles are over. Six of Rods is about success. So this is generally how these readings go. There's an acknowledgement that this person is close to you, the spirit that we've contacted. There's an acknowledgement of great pain and sadness, yours and the other person too. Then there's the card of hope. Then there's cards of happiness. There's a card of this cessation of pain. That's the main thing, followed by success. And here's one I get often too, which is the Ten of Cups, which is perfected happiness. So whoever's sending you this message, the message is very clear that there's sadness here because you're missed, and they know that they're missed, but they want you to know that they're doing okay, and they're growing, and they're happy. There's happiness there. The Four of Rods and the Ten of Cups are very happy cards, and they all come after the Three of Swords, which is the sad one, which is the sad event, is the passing, and everything else after that is happy. That's almost always the way these readings go, by the way. So I'm going to chalk this up as genuine. It's
wow.
If you go back to the Ask One Radio archives and listen to any of my shows, you're probably going to hear a similar reading. And this is the way the cards end up going, which is we're sad, we miss you, we're doing well, though. So it's almost like saying, don't worry. So these are good.
Wow, great.
But the pain is there. There's still, whoever this is still misses you. Let's put it that way. Because of that pain is there, but they're growing. The pain is receding in this plane. Let me see if I can find one more card that might help out, because this kind of stuff kind of sticks in my throat. I get a lump, you know. It's just this is the Six of Cups. Now that's a fascinating card for this. The Six of Cups is about memory of years gone by. It's a card of nostalgia. It's a card, you know, if we were doing a regular, say, like romantic reading, it would refer to maybe somebody from your past coming back into your life. But in this case, we're talking about somebody who was in your life a long time and goes way back with you and has warm feelings for you. That's the Six of Cups. If you can do a search online and see what the Six of Cups looks like in several decks, you'll see it shows two happy children holding each other. Generally, so this is the message I'm seeing, which is it's somebody from your past who you've known for a long time, who was very close to you, who is saddened by being away from you, but is growing as a spirit and is doing well, is in a happy place because the pain and suffering has stopped. Okay?
Okay.
That's
Well, thank you.
I hope that helps. It's like I said, these kind of readings almost leave me speechless, because
They're fascinating.
yeah, and it's
It has
nothing,
been fascinating.
and it's not the kind of thing I ever thought of doing. That's because it's funny that you said you've never had a reading like this, and until I started doing these shows, and it was several years into doing the show before somebody asked me about this, and I said, let's give it a shot, because hey, I'm game, right? And that's where I
Right.
realized the first thing I got was like, the death card. And that's what happened here too. Um,
Wow.
one more card is the Nine of Coins. That's a person who is at peace and one with themselves. So that's the message I'm getting, is that the spirit feels whole. But there's still that sadness of being apart. So that's everything else is happy. Okay.
Well, great. Well, I understand that when spirits pass over, there's a time of learning supposedly, and then, but there's also a great happiness of like being home, being whole.
Yes, and that's why I find, like I said, you can listen to all the other shows. If you pick one at random, you're probably going to hear another reading like this, and they generally follow that pattern, which is there's love, there's warmth, there's sadness, and then there's happiness. And the sadness, of course, is the separation. Um, I'm personally kind of freaky about death. Like, I don't want to die in my sleep, for instance. You know what I mean? I want to know it's happening. That's so. I'd like to experience it if at all possible, but I'm not quite ready for it now. And I've been very close to death several times in my life, and it's a very eerie feeling. And there's a history in my family that is odd. Of My mother once went to visit her mother in the hospital when her mother was dying. My grandmother was dying. And my grandmother started yelling at my mother and said, "What's the matter?" I said, "Why are you ignoring your father?" Well, this was in the mid-1970s, and my mother's father died in 1925. And her mother was saying, he's right there, and you're ignoring him. And, this really shook my mother's mind. Now, I'm going to jump ahead, because not that many years ago, I think I may have told this story last week, in fact. So rather than, I'm repeating it, but I'll make it a little more brief. But I guess not everybody listens to every show. A few years back, I was in a cheap dive bar here in Hell's Kitchen, and there was a guy named Joe. And Joe would sit there and get drunk. And every once in a while, he would turn and say something to people that would alarm them. And one day he turned and said something to me. And the bartender saw me and said, "Oh, Joe just told you something about your family, didn't he?" And I said, "Yes." I mean, Joe just said to me, and I didn't really know this guy, Joe. I mean, he was a guy who got drunk all the time. Said, "Your grandfather's very proud of the work you do." And I said, "Oh, yeah, which grandfather?" And he said, "The German one who used to be a publisher." Now, at the time, my wife and I ran a newspaper. And he said he likes what you're doing with the newspaper. We had made a minor sensation. We were in the New York Times and on television because we had uncovered corruption in local government. So, and I said, I'm not even sure that my sister knew that my grandfather was our grandfather was the publisher of Vogue in Europe, the European Vogue. Like I said, he died in 25, so we never knew him. I mean, I'm not that old, he died well before I was born. But you see, so I'm kind of, it's kind of spooky about this stuff. And a few times I have been at death's door, and not the least of which was in 2013 when the hospital gave me an infection after supposedly routine surgery, and next thing you know, I'm in a room with like 6 other people. Everybody died, and then they would be replaced. And there was a nurse there who went berserk. She started crying and said, "I didn't sign up for this." And I was the only one who lived through it. because it had been made clear to me that it wasn't time for me to go, which of course I was in a great deal of pain. So God knows I wouldn't have minded going at that point. But, when the time comes, it comes. So I've been close. I've been around death. And to be able to do these readings, it kind of freaks me out a little bit, but I do them. And they follow this pattern. And I have to, I have a jokey answer when people say, "Do you believe in life after death?" I say, "Of course I do. Where do you think we are?" But I don't know anymore. I'm wondering about it. I suppose there's so much evidence.
It's good to wonder.
Yeah.
And ponder. It really truly is. That's how you grow too.
Yes. Yeah. That's and growth. Each growth is, in a way, each bit of growth we do is like a death of an older version of us, I suppose. And it's just,
yes.
I have a lot of memories, by the way, which always confused my family. I have memories from things that I'm not supposed to have remembered. Like we would sit and watch movies on television when I was little, and if it took place like in the 1920s or something, and I would say, as a child, I would say that didn't happen that way, and it would freak them out. I have no idea how I knew what it was, but now the question is, this gets into Rupert Sheldrake, a great scientist who I've stuff about him at my webpage, magic-works.com, my website. That memory is outside of the brain. Memory is not in the brain. He believes that there's a morphic resonance, and that's where memory lies, and we just tap into that. There's a lot to say in favor of that, because there's a lot of times we know things that we shouldn't know. It's like we're picking up somebody else's memories. So I'm just wondering where these come from. But the cards are a tool, and they show me the same thing so often that I believe me, I'm not a card manipulator. If I was, I'd be in Las Vegas instead of doing this. But I have no idea why it keeps happening, but it happens. So, that may be the subject of another book for me. I don't know. I might give it a shot. Well, I better run. I got to take a couple of more calls here. Like I said, I've been.
Okay. Well, hey, Merry Christmas and.
Thank you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Let's get to New York.
Yeah, from Alaska to New York. Bye-bye now. And let's shuffle them up. New Year's a good time for me because my birthday is a few days afterwards. So I get to celebrate a lot. We're all shuffled up. And Purvi, right here in New York City, is next. Hi, you're on with Reverend Eliot.
Hi. Thank you.
Hi. My pleasure. How are you tonight?
I'm okay.
Well, maybe we can make that a little better. Let's see. I'm doing okay. I've missed so many shows because I was ill that I just chatter a lot now, so I'm trying to restrain myself. But it's so great to be. I get such a burst of energy from the radio audience and talking that. Man, something. Maybe I should have done the show while I was sick. It might have made me less sick. I don't know. So let's get right to your reading before I chew your ear off with a nonstop talk. How's that? What would you like to look at?
I would like to look at my loved wife.
Okay. Let's see if I can shuffle that up and see what we get. Interesting. Right now you're in a pause. There's a pause here. That's the Four of Swords. The Four of Swords is like nothing much happening really, but you're going to enter a period.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this as delicately as I can. You're going to enter a period of great sensual delight. Okay? Because that's the Nine of Cups.
A period of what?
Great sensual delights.
Okay.
I mean, all kinds of enjoying all kinds of good pleasures, and I mean, it's a very good sign. I mean, there's only one warning, which is that people are going to be envious of you. And that's not terrible, but it's just you're entering a period of great, almost luxury and uh, exciting feelings and romance and it's I'm trying to keep this as decent as possible and success. It's going to be a very good period for you. I mean, you're going to go from a period of the Four of Swords, which is nothing happening really, just waiting and waiting for something to happen.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised to hear that because I feel like I've been waiting forever.
well, according to this, that waiting period may be coming to an end because there's a lot of like here's the Four of Rods, which is about happiness and joy and there's just the card of the sun, which is health and growth and healing and happiness. It's a very bright time, like the Four of Swords.
Hmm.
The period of waiting is kind of dark, but there's a bright time coming for you. Now, here's
Hmm.
something that's interesting. There's somebody who's interested in you. This is how I
Hmm.
always interpret that card. The Four of Cups. It shows a person looking at three cups and doesn't notice a fourth cup off to the side being handed out from a cloud, which means it's mysterious. Then that generally means there's somebody who's interested in you, but that person hasn't made these feelings known yet. So keep an eye out. There may be somebody around you who's just a little shy, but see, now here it is. Here's again the Ace of Cups. That's the beginning of romance, happiness, joy. That all these cards show me that there's a period of great enjoyment and happiness coming your way shortly. Because I've got the Eight of
Okay.
Rods here, which means it's on the way. So this all comes after that card about waiting.
Mm.
So that
Okay.
waiting period is about to end. That's the way I look at it. I mean, these are all really good, happy, solid cards. And the thing is, there's a preponderance of cups, and cups are about the heart and emotions, and that should be good for you.
Mm. Well, I just have waited so long that I am seriously concerned about, um, fertility.
Yeah. Well, let me see what I can show you. There's cards for that too, which is like, okay, this is a little bit of an. This is pushing it along. Okay, the Page of Cups is the same thing. The Page of Cups is the appearance. It's not theoretical. Like if it was the Knight of Cups, it would be a theoretical thing. The Page is, it's right here. It's down to earth. It's real. The Empress, believe it or not, that's the card I was hoping to find. The Empress is a card of fertility. Now, if you look at many tarot
Oh.
decks, you'll see it shows a woman surrounded by fruit and vegetables, and wheat. This is all about making
Hmm.
things grow. It's a card of fertility. It's a card that a lot of people don't want to see, by the way. But you
Mm.
mentioned that, and there it is. Now, the Three of Cups is here, which is also a card. A cups again. All these cards are about romance and emotions and feelings. The Three of Cups indicates in this kind, that traditionally indicates in this kind of a reading that it's somebody you're going to meet through friends.
Oh, okay.
So, but keep an eye because I'm sure that there's somebody around you who's interested and hasn't let you know yet. So
Well,
see,
my problem is I'm never, I don't ever feel drawn to or interested in
Mhm.
anyone. Um,
Oh,
I feel like I'm not in a place where I'm allowed to grow.
what is stopping you? Do you think?
No, I mean, with the person.
Oh, okay. Well, it can be hit and miss. I mean, I was married once, and it didn't even last 2 years. Uh,
Mm.
Married again, and we're heading into 40 years now. So
Oh
you just
wow.
you keep trying. Either I've developed a
Mhm.
severe, I've either developed a severe lack of curiosity, or we hit it off very well. So who knows? But
Mm.
you
Mhm.
see, now here you go. The High Priestess is here. That's an interesting card. That shows that you're a person of deep intuition, feeling, spiritual
Yes.
depth. Um, and I think that card then showing up now is telling me to let you know that you should trust your feelings and don't, if you don't feel drawn, then you're not, right? So
Mhm. Mhm.
I just think that this I'm almost speechless because this next card is about what I was going to say. The next card fits in with what you want. The next card is the Ten of Cups. That's about happiness in a home, and it shows people with children, and everybody. It shows that's you're going to attain that. When the time comes, you'll attain it. Okay,
Mm.
but I think that go ahead.
Uh, no, so you can finish.
No, the period of waiting is coming to an end. Is the way I see it.
Mm.
In fact, the
It's
tower.
interesting
Yeah, I have the tower struck by
that
lightning here,
you.
which means it could end fast. And now here's the star. The star is also another card of fertility. It's about hope and optimism, but it shows a little bird in a branch in a tree, and that is generally believed to be representative of the soul of the child about to be born. So there are two cards here showing fertility and many cards showing happiness. It's coming your way. It's not. It's just taking longer than you want, obviously, but it's coming your way. Okay.
Mm. Well, I think that it's interesting that you mentioned home because that has been it's a long story. I won't go into all the details, but that's been a very like kind of the bane of my existence.
Hmm.
I feel like it almost feels like my life is just survival mode. I'm
Uh-huh.
surviving, and that's it.
Well, what I see that changing. Do me a favor because I've got to run and I need to try to get in another call. But go to askoneradio.com tomorrow or anytime after tomorrow, and listen to this call and listen and picture the cards because I'm telling you this is what you're looking for is coming. Okay. I mean, I've got it right here again, which is the Ten of Coins, which is all about that.
Hmm.
The
Okay.
Ten of Coins is about it. Okay, so I've got to run.
Okay.
Okay,
All right. Thank you so much.
bye bye now. And Julie in Apache Junction, Arizona is next. Hi, you're on with Reverend Eliot.
Hi there.
Hi, Julie. Let's see if we can get you in here. We've got a few minutes left. What can I look at for you?
Um, Relationship.
Okay, then let's shuffle them up. Oh boy. Are you married? Because if not, you're going to be.
Yes,
How's that?
I
Are you
am.
married?
I
Yeah.
am.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. That's the first thing the cards. Because it's kind of odd when there's a reading and they want to know about relationship, and I say, "Oh, you got a great relationship coming your way," and I find out the person's married. But the card I got is the Hierophant, which is a card of marriage, which tells me that you're in a relationship now, in a marriage. The Sun is here. Um, that's a card of healing and health and growth. Have there been things that you had to work out in this marriage that have been like?
Somewhat, yes.
Yeah, well, this is telling me, and that's followed, by the way, by the Three of Swords, which is a card of sadness. So what I'm getting is that there have been some problems in the marriage. There's a good chance it'll work out. The High Priestess is here, which I just had for the previous caller, which indicates a very spiritual and intuitive person. So you know what's going on. You feel it, and you should go with your
Yes.
feelings. But what I'm seeing is that your relationship is entering a new phase. The Six of Swords is here. That's getting from where you are to where you want to be. You don't have to tell us what that phase is. Whatever, there's something you want, and you're going to go after it, and you're going to get it. That's the way I see it.
Awesome.
The Ten of Swords is here. The Ten of Swords means that the bad times are over. It looks to me like you're working your way through it. Whatever way this goes, it's going to be best for you. How's that?
Okay.
But
That's good.
you see, the Death card is here, which doesn't mean you're going to die. It just means that the one phase of your life is coming to a close and another phase is beginning, which is why I say there's changes coming. And that's followed by the Six of Swords, which tells me that the change that's coming is the change that you want. And it's a change that you actively want and are working toward. So whatever, like I said, you don't have to get too personal with everybody listening. But what I'm seeing here is you know what you want. You're working on getting it. Here's the Three of Rods, which is waiting for results. You're very spiritual because that not just the High Priestess, but I have the Magician card here. And of course the Hierophant, which is the card that led me to believe that you were married, which was that's also a spiritual thing. So there's a lot at work at play here. It's not a simple situation, but you're going to get what you want, and you're working at it, and it's showing up. Okay?
Awesome.
I will light a
Thank
candle.
you.
I'll light a white candle after the show to send you some positive energy. How's that?
That would be amazing.
Okay, I'll do that. I've got to run now.
Okay. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
And folks, that's it. You've come to the end of Reverend Eliot's Magical Window, Year 11. We've just rounded off Year 11, and we will be back next week with the beginning of Year 12. I hope I sound like I'm a 12-year-old. I don't know what that means, but gosh, it's been so long since I've started doing this that I get edgy when I don't do it. And I get so much energy doing it, and I hope it comes across that I really enjoy our time together, or I wouldn't have been doing it all these years. Gosh, hey, Dave sent me a message here, said if the producer, if this was high school, I'd be a senior now. You see, I knew one day I'd be a senior. It's not like my Social Security check doesn't tell me that every dang month, I'm a crotchety old man. Jeepers creepers. I'm completely a senior, huh? I'm old. Let's face it. I mean, I was born old. Let me put it that way. I mean, that's, I'm old at heart. And like that's what I'm saying. I'm convinced I was here in the 1920s and the teens. One day I'll tell you how I was injured in World War I. Long before I was born this time around. But that, as they say, is for another day and maybe even for another book. But until we meet again, I just want to remind you, my website is magic-works.com, magick-works.com. And that has 103 or 4 pages of fascinating stuff. mojoacademy.org. There's a book there that will change your life. And seriously think you might want to consider one of those books there. There's loads of books about all kinds of esoteric subjects. You can even learn how to hypnotize people. So I got to get out of here in 8 seconds. So remember, what you are, I almost got that backwards, right? What you are is the universe's gift to you. What you become is your gift back to the universe. See you next week. Bye-bye now.